So there's something that I wanted to talk about today. Now, what is it that I want to talk about? I want to talk about modern fear. Now, what do I mean by modern fear? I don't mean like jump scares. Ooh, though that's part of it. The modern fear that I want to talk about is the fear associated with modern life. Now, what is this fear that you may be thinking of? Well, the fear of modern life is associated with the sense of time. Time that we're running out of time, that we need to go ahead and hurry, be from one place to another, doing one thing to another thing, and there's no real sense of being able to stop. Wait, relax, relax. You don't have to be in a rush all the time. But that's where you're wrong, mister. We actually have to be in a rush. We have to do this thing, that thing, because we can't be idle. Because life is just passing us by. We can't just sit still. Because when we sit still, we are wasting time. And time is precious. Unlike money, you can't really get more of it. At least right now, there's work being made on life extension, and we have people such as Ryan Johnson experimenting with a bunch of experimental things and trying to extend one's life. But that's beyond the point. It's not like you can get lost time back, and it's the exact same flavor that it would have been if you had used that time. Meaning, even if you extend your life, at the end of the day, you can't replicate the exact circumstances that would have been there if you hadn't wasted that time. And we really see this a lot with work. If you're working full-time, which most adults are, that's 8 hours a day, not including lunch or commute time, which could drastically lengthen that name. Well, perhaps not drastic is the right word, significantly lengthen that amount of time. For example, it could be 10.5 hours each day instead of just 8 hours. I wonder where I pulled that number from. Now, that's a lot of time. Especially when you think you're working only 40 hours per week, but it's a little bit more. But even with just the 40 hours per week, you can't get back that time. That time is just used. It's gone. And let's say, for example, well, I guess actually this is probably the best example to pinpoint what exactly I'm talking about. A loved one, they exist for a finite amount of time. And when they go, they're just gone. They're not going to come back. Even if you were to somehow get 40 years back of lost time, you can't spend those 40 years with your loved one if your loved one had already died. So this complicates wasting time more significantly than what it was already complex to begin with. Because now you have to start thinking about the quality of time at this moment. Now, this is something that some folks admittedly do not think about. They think, oh, well, I'll just go and work my ass off for 20, 30 years. Then I'll be able to retire by the time I'm 50 or, early 60, and then I can finally begin my hobbies. All the while, the mind is starting to go. The body is starting to decay. And we have trouble just doing basic stuff now. The quality of life, in other words, have gone down. And if that time was to be used with the loved one, well, I just illustrated earlier the complications with that. So the time right now is very, very precious. Now, it's easy to think, oh, because it's very precious, I'm going to start respecting my current time. I'm not going to waste it on silly, dumb things. It's going to be very important. There's issues with that I also won't go into, at least right at the current moment. But because of this, it just places a lot of stress on the individual. Time is being wasted. There's now pressure of making sure you're utilizing the time that you currently have to the best effect that you can. And this is all nice and dandy if you know what to do. But what if you don't? What if passion doesn't even make sense to you? What if you're not that unicorn out in the wild? Ah, yes, I'm 12 and I already know what to do for the rest of my life. Or perhaps you're 20. You know what? Doesn't really bother me. I'm just going to do what I want right now. And all those things are perfectly valid, don't get me wrong. But I'm starting to think that's not the majority. I think the majority is a little more complicated. There wasn't an exact passion that really fired you up. Or perhaps there was such a passion, but it doesn't pay very well. Perhaps there's not even a lot of available jobs at the moment. Or perhaps in order to make that dream a reality, you need auxiliary skills to help supplement that main skill becoming a reality. Perhaps not skill is the right word, but a hobby. Some sort of action or set of actions. They alone are not enough. Regardless of which situation you're in, it ends up being the same thing. You are doing something that you do not like. And that hurts even more when we're aware of how precious time is. Because that time that we're using doing something that we're not exactly a huge fan of, we are now more or less conditioned nowadays that time is wasted. We could have used it on things that did really fire us up. And when you don't know how to monetize that, or maybe you're not even able to be so successful to the point of making a living off of that, well, then you're just kind of fucked. It just kind of feels like you're wasting life in general. And what sort of world would you want to live in where that's okay? I don't want to live in that world. I abhor it. I detest it. I hate it. And it might seem contradictory, but that's okay. And I think that's really where the modern fear comes into play. This fear of having to live a life of mediocrity. This fear of, oh no, I am having to be stuck with that which I'm not super passionate of. Or perhaps I'm going to live my entire life without being able to find my passion. That's pretty funny. It's pretty funny because it's true. It's possible. Yeah. That's the joke. It's possible. You could live your entire life without pursuing your passion. You could live your entire life fucked. This passion of yours, there's this dream of yours, there's a reason why it's called the dream. It's not reality. And that terrifies people. Because when you're young, you think, oh yes, it is possible. And then when you're older, oh, there's bills, there's responsibilities. And oh man, there are people better than me. And when you're an adult, and you're not just dealing with basic responsibilities, but bigger ones, perhaps you have a family. Perhaps you have some duties that you can't exactly skirt. Your amount of free time, increasingly limited. Very tiny, very small. Well then, that's a bit of a tough one, isn't it? Shucks, I don't know what to do. And that can be pretty painful. It can be pretty scary. This uncertainty. Or perhaps unwillingness to be okay with being mediocre. You're not going to look like the main character of your story. At least if you still work within the usual confines, which I will be diving in a moment. Instead, you are subpar. Instead, you are a background character. And you keep waiting for that one moment in the future. Ah, yes, when everything's perfect. When things finally go my way, I'm going to be the main character. I'm going to step out and be like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. I'm here. Cut. And that's the extent of it. Like, seriously, that's where the imagination typically ends. You don't think about the hard work required afterward. Because you know how many people have lucky opportunities? A fuck ton. A fuck ton of people have lucky opportunities. And then it gets squandered. That's why you have people with regrets. You have people with the what ifs. And some of those people are people that did actually have the opportunity. And they still have a what if reaction. Because there's already a bunch of people that have lucky opportunities. And they still fail. Or even now, there's people in your current circumstances. And some of them are able to go up and end up succeeding. And for people not in the know, a good chunk of them are going to look like it was just luck. That they were just lucky. Well, let me break a little bit of naivety here, okay? Luck certainly plays a factor. But you have to construct the situations, the circumstances in which that luck can manifest in your life. Like, let's say, oh yeah, I want to be the CEO of, such and such company. If you don't even work for that company, you're not even going to have the opportunity to get in that role. Or like, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and be able to have a dinner with the CEO and it's going to be great. Sure, you can go ahead and think about that. You can go ahead and wish for that. You can go ahead and dream about it. But if all you do is just stay in your room, or if all you do is not even interact with your coworkers, how are you going to fabricate the circumstances that could lead to those lucky encounters? Do you think the CEO or, board of directors or whoever the fuck is in charge of those decisions, do you think they're just going to start thinking to themselves, you know what? I think I want to talk with that employee on floor, X fucking with employee ID number XYZ. You think that's going to happen? No, not really. It's just never really going to happen. But if you're known as a person that's working their ass off, if you become someone reliable, dependable, if you consistently bring in results that's good for the company, well, that's a little bit different. Maybe they're going to start considering you to be the person that leads company XYZ. Fuck yeah. Nope. Fuck no. Nope. Because you didn't put in the work. It's actually pretty rare for lucky uppers to fall in dumb people's laps. Dumb in the sense that they're not doing anything to further their circumstances. They're not doing something that's for the benefit of the self to achieve that goal. Or if they are, it's inefficient, suboptimal. So, what's the point, right? Okay. What's the point? Well, the point is that this is a modern fear that a lot of people tend to have that they're not quite certain of, okay? They don't know what this modern fear is. And I think that's a bit of an issue, because if you don't really understand what your fear is, how on earth are you going to try to conquer it? How on earth are you going to learn how to be okay with it? Especially, for a boy here, I think exposure therapy is very beneficial for conquering just this thing that I am referring to. But if you don't even know how to define that, what you're struggling with, how are you even going to know that the solution addresses your problem? I try to illustrate the modern fear so that it starts to make more sense, so that you can begin to understand it. Because when you start to understand the modern fear, then perhaps you can learn how to be okay with it. Because this modern fear of limited time, of having to figure out what you want to do with your time, and this paralysis that follows soon afterward, of like, oh no, I don't want to be mediocre. Well, already being mediocre, it breaks my heart. Partially because I am that person. Part of the reason why I am like this to you is so that I can try to fulfill that for myself. To be okay with the possibility that I will be mediocre. That perhaps no one's going to watch this. Maybe a handful of people. And that's it. No more. And this is my attempt at being okay with that, by doing it anyways. Because it's extremely unlikely that this will take off. And I'm using myself as an example to illustrate how you can do it. Even if your hobby isn't profitable, even if your interest might waste time because you're using that time for other what ifs you could have tried to fulfill. At the end of the day, if you do nothing, you're still wasting time. There is still a price being paid even if you're not aware of it. And I was like that, and I still am. And this is my attempt at doing it anyways. And because you're seeing someone just be able to try to do it, I'm hoping, I'm pleading, well, maybe not, on my knees with my hands crossed together. I don't think I exactly sold that well. I do still hope that there's more individuals exerting their autonomy to say, you know what? I'm going to choose to do this thing even though it is not guaranteed. Even though perhaps nothing will work out of it. And being fully okay with that. Fully embracing that possibility. That's what I want to see more of. I want to see people taking more risk. I want people to just do shit because they want to. Not because it's for financial gain, because there's some sort of security, some sort of certainty that's associated with that. No. Like, it's a dumb example, but like, you see the fucking world wonders. Was there a point to it? No. There was no profit incentive behind it. There wasn't something tangible. I mean, I guess you could go a little bit Machiavellian and then think that, oh yes, it was for the sake of, constructing an image that people can get behind me so that I can gather more influence. Sure, whatever. Doesn't matter. I think, I guess that's the real issue at the end of the day. Just thinking. I think. No. Just do I do. And obviously there's circumstances where you probably shouldn't just being I do. But you start to learn how to discern them. Like, oh yes, well, I guess that's that actually. I could complicate it even further. I could go more in depth and more detail about certain things. But at the end of the day, what I'm really trying to get at, I just wish people would just do. These modern fears, I understand them because I have them, I live them. I'm trying to supersede them in a way. And it's tough. There is no guarantee anymore. It's uncertain. And I'm starting to wonder, why isn't that okay? And the answer I'm seeing, it is okay. Because at the end of the day, the person who makes it okay or not is ourselves. There's power here that we can take advantage of. We can tap into this. We can learn how to be okay with living a mediocre life while still pursuing that which we want to pursue. We use what little free time we have to try to be okay with that. Yes, perhaps I can't spend 40 hours a week making these sort of videos. Perhaps I can't spend 40 hours a week editing them, really analyzing them. How can I make this better? How can I make this unique? How can I be in the common noosphere? 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 I don't know how to pronounce it. But if you're able to correct me, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, it's Noosphere. Then you can look it up. That space. That's been a bit of a dream of mine for several years. And I wasn't content if it was just me or a handful of folks. I want it to be a lot of people. And I'm learning how to be okay with just doing it for just me. And for you, perhaps you can't have all the time that you would like to pursue your passion or hobby. Does that make it any more worthless? It's easy to say yes, because if I can't have the progress I think of, if I can't have that dream state I want to be in and bring it into reality, into fruition, then it's not worth pursuing. No. I don't want to live like that, because I have been living like that already for 20 years. Probably a little longer. And it's exhausting. It's tiring. Because at no point does it feel like you're living your life. So I just decided to stop. Just stop. That's how you supersede the modern fear. Use what little time you can to pursue your dreams and your hobbies. And it sucks, but reduce your expectations. Learn how to be okay with less. And when you start to do this, you start to discover the special magic, okay? These obstacles, these challenges, instead of viewing them as something that's debilitating, as something paralyzing, you learn how to work within the confines of them. And even in this limited circumstances, you can still proudly say, yes, I was alive. Because I did what I wanted. I didn't force myself to do things I didn't want to do. Like go to work. Like work my ass off. Like just do chores, errands. These things I view to be beneath me. You can transform that relationship. You can view it as a testing ground. You can view it as something that you can learn how to enjoy. And you can also use the little free time you have to pursue your hobbies, your interests, your passions as a moment to prove that you were alive. Because if you don't pursue something like that, you're just dead all day. And what sort of life would that be worth living? What would be the point? And I don't want that to be the point. And I sincerely hope others will start to live their life in a way where that's not the point either. Bye.